So I have a couple more Starch Solution reset recipes, so stick around. Hi, Debbie Chu here from Chew on Vegan, and welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, I'm a plant-based RN and I follow a whole food, plant-based, no oil way of eating. If that sounds good to you, please subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video, which is every week. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for more plant-based content. I'd also like to remind you to check out all the links below in the description box. The full recipes will be there, as well as all the resources I offer. I have a newsletter, I have an e-guide, I have a Facebook group that's completely free to join, I have an e-guide, and I also have an online course, so be sure to check those out. Last week I did a video on a couple of Starch Solution reset recipes that help you get back on track if you've kind of gone by the wayside. And these really are just standard Starch Solution recipes. But I think it's a good time to remind us about the basics of the Starch Solution, about eating our whole starches, lots of non-starchy vegetables, and just make a plate that is satisfying and low calorie density, which will help get you in a calorie deficit so you can lose weight. This time of year is particularly challenging for a lot of people, and if we just stick to our basics and stay consistent, we're going to sail through these holidays no problem. But anytime if you need to get back on track, these recipes are the go-tos. On a different note, sometimes I can fall into this trap, and it is comparing myself to other people. I think we all do it to some extent, but sometimes it can just really mess with your mind, and it makes you question what you're doing. You see other people on YouTube or TikTok and they're doing this, that, or the other, and maybe you start questioning yourself. There's a saying that says comparison is the thief of joy. So when you're comparing yourself to other people, you're not really in your present moment here, you're not really focusing on yourself, you are looking outside. And it's great to get inspiration from people, but if it gets to the point where you don't think you're good enough, you aren't doing it right, and you really start losing your confidence, then that's the time to step away from all that and get back and focus on yourself. You know, there's that story about the person that was in a race and they're running the race and they're ahead, but they keep looking behind them and seeing what the other runners are doing. And they're so worried about the other people behind them, they keep turning around and looking, and they end up tripping and falling, and then everyone else passes them by. And if they would have just stayed in their lane, kept going, and not worry about what other people are doing, they would have won the race, and it would have had a lot better outcome. Just remember to just focus on yourself and what you're doing. And it's fine to get inspiration from other people, but just keep it in check. All right, pep talk's over. So let's get to those recipes. The first one's going to be a bowl. I'm going to be doing like a Mexican style bowl, and it's going to be very filling. I'm going to put some tempeh in there and some lentils, so it's going to have some good protein. Of course, starches will be in there and non-starchy vegetables as well. And you're just going to have to keep watching to see what the second recipe is. Let's get started. All right, I have a little bit of water heating up in my nonstick pan, and this is about 1/4 of a piece of tempeh, and I like to boil my tempeh for about 5 minutes. Tempeh can tend to be a little bit bitter, and I feel like that really helps the flavor. And I'm just going to break this up and put it in the pan here. And we're just going to saute it for a bit, maybe a little color on it. And I'm on medium heat here, so we're just going to let this go for a few minutes and get some color on here, and then we'll add in some other ingredients. Next, we're going to add in about 1 cup of cooked lentils. So here you're getting some great fiber, some great protein. I know sometimes when you start a plant-based diet, people are worried about protein. No need to worry. All right, now we're going to add some water. And I'm going to add this taco seasoning. This is siete, and it's pretty clean ingredients. I don't know if you can see that, but it's chili powder, sea salt, got some dates, tomato powder, garlic powder, nutritional yeast, cumin, onion flakes, cassava flour, pepper, parsley, so pretty clean ingredients. I'm going to use probably a half a package here. And they don't use any anti-clumping ingredients, so that, you know, you're gonna have some clumps, which is not a big deal. You're just gonna work on those. All right. So we're just gonna let this cook in the seasoning for a few minutes to get some good flavor. And then we will put our bowl together. So this comes together rather quickly. And as you can see, it gets nice and thick, and the flavors just get into the lentils and the tempeh. This is also great for tacos, burritos, tostados, whatever you like. But today I'm just gonna make a bowl. It's quick, it's easy. So let's put this together. All right, so I've got some rice. Here's my starch. And I did the same thing as I did in my last video. I did half rice and half quinoa. I ran out of the tricolored, so I just used regular white quinoa. And then I'm just going to add a bunch of greens here, and this is some mixed greens and some romaine, and that's just going to be on the other side of the plate here. Then I have some add-ins. I've got some shredded carrot that we can put on here. I've got a little bit of cabbage we can put on there. Some bell peppers. And some onion. And you really want a huge amount of greens, okay? And I always start with these first, and that way I start filling up on that. And then I'm going to move on to my protein here and then my starch. And most likely I will eat all of this for sure. You could also add some tomatoes if you'd like. Now we need some kind of topping, dressing, sauce, something. So let's get that going. So I just heated up some of my plant-based cheese sauce. I'll leave the recipe below. And then I'm just going to add some jarred salsa. And this is a Southwest blend, so it's got some onions, little spice, even has a couple beans in there. So I'm just going to add about 3 teaspoons in there, mix it all around, and then you kind of have a queso, kind of a cheese sauce. And this is good over lettuce, beans, rice, potatoes, whatever you want. All right, so we just drizzle this on here. You could also add some hot sauce. Yes, over your rice, over your tempeh mixture here. And doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? All right, there you go. And this is a wonderful Starch Solution reset recipe. Let's give it a taste. All right, here we go. Finished product, came out great. All right, let's give it a taste. Get some of these greens with the cheese sauce. Delicious, refreshing. Now some of this tempeh, bean mixture, a little bit of rice, and of course that cheese sauce. I have to tell you, this is so good. So this recipe makes enough for 2, and this will be my serving. All right, now stay tuned for the next recipe. So, of course you knew I was going to make a soup, right? Of course. It's what I do every Sunday. So this is my take on chicken and rice soup. It's going to be vegan, of course, whole food, plant-based, and we're going to start it pretty much how I start all my recipes for soups. We've got some water heating up into a nice non-stick skillet. And we're gonna add our carrots, celery, and onion. We will let these cook for about 5 minutes till they are softened, and then we will go from there. Okay, the vegetables are softened, and now we're gonna add some garlic and some spices. I'll give the full recipe in the description box. But there's some thyme, some oregano, some poultry seasoning, onion powder. So we'll just let this cook for about a minute, and then we'll add everything else. We're gonna add some veggie broth. And I prefer to use the no chicken veggie broth. The no chicken veggie broth. All right, now we're gonna add 1 can of rinsed and drained chickpeas. Make sure that you rinse them very well, especially if you didn't get low salt or no salt. That way you can control the amount of salt in your recipes. All right, we're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we'll add our rice and we'll let it simmer for about 15 minutes. As you can see, it's just coming up to a boil. This is perfect. So we're gonna add our rice, and I'm just using some jasmine rice. Then we're gonna partially cover it and let it go for about 12-15 minutes till the rice is cooked. And we'll keep it on medium low, just so it stays at a simmer. All right, it's looking good. Now to finish it off, I'm gonna add 1/8 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, totally optional. I just like a little heat on my soup, especially if you're not feeling well. That really helps clear those sinuses. Then I'm gonna add 2 cups of greens, 2 cups of packed greens, and a little lemon juice. And we're gonna turn the heat off, and we're just gonna let this sit in here for 5 minutes or so till the greens wilt, and then we will serve it up. All right, I had to move the camera a little bit because the sun is just like way too bright if I stand in my normal spot. So if it looks different, that's why. But anyway, soup is done. It's just, looks delicious. Let's give this a taste. That broth is so good. It's so reminiscent of what I had as a child, and this just gives me the warm and fuzzies. It's so good. So I hope you give this one a try. And I think this is about my 17th soup that I've made, so I may be running out of ideas. I'll have to do some repeats. So the soup I just made and the bowl I made earlier, those two are just so great for getting back on track for this reset. And this is a perfect time to do it right before Christmas, and then you can just go into next year right on track. So just remember that it's just a holiday, not a holiday, not a holiday month. So yes, enjoy the day. That is what you're supposed to do. But in between, be on track, be consistent. And if you do fall off or go off plan, then you know exactly what to do to get back on. And you just keep doing that as many times as it takes. It doesn't matter. We're all gonna mess up, and you just get right back on. I will leave the full recipe below in the description box. Be sure to check out all the resources I offer. And if you like this video, if you learned something, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you've made it this far in the video, please comment below with holiday reset. And that way I know you made it to the end with me, and I really appreciate your support. Remember that all my recipes are good for you, they're good for the animals, and they're good for the planet, and what you put on your plate determines your fate and your weight. Until next time, thank you.